Hello, and welcome. This is the Texas is Live, and I am Shane Moore, finally back after a long time away. Glad to be back, and glad you're listening. Tonight we will be discussing something that a topic that is unpleasant to say the least. The topic of child trafficking and much more. I'm sure that you've heard of the Wayfair debacle, the child trafficking accusations and allegations that have been made against Wayfair as far as their as what's going on with them. It's absolutely incredible that that was just taken and basically was there were so many people, many people that just they laughed it off and said it's the product of an overactive imagination. It's conspiracy theory, and hey, it can. Yes, I mean, just because it's a conspiracy theory doesn't mean that it's not real or that, nothing is actually taking place. It's, for me, Wayfair has a lot of explaining to do. There's a lot of unanswered questions, and it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I will go step by step, and I'll explain to you just how crazy it really is. And it's unbelievable that so many people would just brush this off and say that, that it's not, there's nothing to it, and just I guess because that's much easier than, facing the evil that people can do, that they're capable of. And I'm going to send out some direct links really quick, and but I'm going to take a very short break, and when we get back we will get started. And trust me, this is incredible. I have discovered some things myself, and have read on YouTube and different sites, good people who are doing their own investigation, and what they've uncovered, what they've discovered, and God bless every one of them. What they have uncovered are things that will boggle the mind. They're doing the work that the police, the law enforcement, federal law enforcement, state law enforcement should be doing, but they're just brushing it aside. And as far as Snopes and fact checker and all that, trust me, this is like an octopus. This is with many more than just eight tentacles or 8 legs. This thing is so complex. It reaches into every area of society, every level, from the lowest to the highest. It's everywhere. It has been literally woven into the very fabric of society. And I will list the countries that are the most that have the greatest human trafficking, child trafficking, and what I'm going to say tonight, what I'm going to reveal tonight, is one thing that I do is I see patterns. I see patterns where most people don't see them. Now, that's just something that I've always been able to do naturally, is look for patterns, see patterns, identify patterns, and a lot of other areas, I can just watch. I'm useless. But as far as patterns, that's one of my fortes. That's one of my niches. So there are many patterns, and patterns are like numbers. They don't lie. When there's a pattern, when there's a repeating pattern, it's like where there's smoke, there's fire. And let me tell you, this is a blazing fire. So we will get into that and definitely touch on that. And like I said, it is not it's not just bear with me. And we will get through this. Now, this is going to be very, very touchy, very, I don't know. It's just hard to really talk about, but we will get through it, and we'll do it. So, I will be back in 3 minutes.
Pick up the dice, give it a roll. You never really know which way to go. Feel it inside, feel the spark, lift you up when you're falling apart. We think we know it all, we stand 10 feet small, with our head under ground. I think I've seen it all, that I've come so far, but it just got me high till I broke down. Does somebody know of a place where your heart doesn't sink like a stone? When you're naked and broken, nowhere to go. Does somebody know? Does somebody know of a place where the green isn't covered by snow? Every time that your eyes speak, it's time to let go. Does somebody know? What you are, like what you feel. Don't let the colors fade when it's hard to deal. So pick up the dice, give it a roll. Get yourself up when you're left out alone. We think we know it all, we stand 10 feet small, with our head under ground. I think I've seen it all, that I've come so far, but it just got me high till I broke down. Does somebody know of a place where your heart doesn't sink like a stone? When you're naked and broken, nowhere to go. Does somebody know? Does somebody know of a place where the green isn't covered by snow? Every time that your eyes speak, it's time to let go. Does somebody know? Does somebody know? Somebody know.
Okay, and I am back. I hope everybody's doing well, and under the circumstances, this coronavirus pandemic is saying it's out of hand is an understatement. I mean, this is absolutely crazy, with thousands of new cases every day, and it has just exploded. And I'm not going to get into that because that's totally not what we're talking about tonight. But it just seems like that since the first day of this year, since the clock, since the year rolled over, that the moment 2020 started, it has just been a year of just the punches just keep coming, and it's just unbelievable. So, not to mention sad. It's on every level. No one is immune from it. It's absolutely heartbreaking. But anyway, we will talk about the Wayfair. We'll begin with the Wayfair allegations and a little bit about how the mindset of those who are involved in child trafficking, human trafficking for that matter, they're not like most people. Most people have the capability, most people are able to feel empathy and compassion and a natural regard, concern, and care for their fellow human being, for fellow humans. These people don't. These people would be classified as psychopaths or sociopaths, more along the lines of the psychopath. What you're dealing with is the proverbial bad seed. No one is made a psychopath, and this is very, very scary. It's creepy. No one is made a psychopath by being abused, by trauma, by bad childhood, or they didn't get enough hugs, or they were severely beaten, sexual abuse. No, none of that. Psychopathy is genetic, is what they think. It is the least known. The amount of knowledge as far as psychopathy is lacking, to say the least. Mainly because, and this is where the child trafficker's mindset comes in. The psychopath's greatest power that they have is the wearing the mask and hiding behind the facade of normalcy. People often say, have you ever met a psychopath? And my answer is, I probably have, many times, but never knew it. Because a psychopath, just like a pedophile, a child murderer. Now, I'm not saying all child murderers, I'm not saying all murderers are psychopaths, but the psychopath you would never know. Contrary to what Hollywood, depicts as psychopathy, it is not the one that loses control and or one that even takes control. Because the psychopath never loses control. They're as calm as a cucumber. Hey, Patricia, glad you joined me. It's just us, so let's dance. Glad you're here. One's a lonely number. But as far as psychopathy, that mindset, the child traffickers, they traffic children. And when I say children, I'm also talking about adults, but we're talking about children tonight because of the Wayfair allegations. They traffic them, they sell them just like they would sell arms, guns, rifles, just like they would sell anything else, just like they would sell drugs. And trust me, there is an overwhelming demand for children in the world today, and it's very sad that the world is like it is. Many people say it's so sad the world has come to this, and the fact is the world has not come to this. The world has always been this way. The world has always been this way. Maybe not as bad, not a constant level, but there have always been pedophiles. There have always been these groups, these rings of pedophiles that prey on children, and it's the ones that are involved in the pedophilia, but not just the pedophilia. They're also, and this is not the 1980s. During the 1980s, there was the satanic panic where everybody was seeing Satanism behind every bush and blaming, the Satanists for everything, But these people that I'm talking about, that I'll be talking about tonight, they are part of an occult group or groups that they take it very seriously, and they believe that they obtain power from having sex with children or even killing children. And children are the embodiment of innocence. And this is something that's been going on for thousands of years. It is mentioned in the Bible. The Bible talks about how the Canaanites and how they, quote, passed their children through the fire of Molech. Molech was a god, a demon god that was worshipped, and there were statues that were built, idols that were built, like iron, huge iron idols that were built, that there were fires that were placed inside of these idols, and Molech had the head of a bull. Now, the bull is a very important symbol for the masculine, the patriarchy, there was once the divine masculine, the divine feminine. The divine feminine was brushed away, completely buried, and now what we have is we have, it's just the masculine. It's the aggressive, the conquering, the warrior mindset, and what it was in the Bible, Solomon's temple, which there never was a Solomon's temple. Okay, there never was actually a Solomon's temple. Your body is Solomon's temple. Let's just get that, let's get that out of the way now. Your body is the temple of Solomon. Okay, it had two pillars, one called Jacob and one called Boaz. Those pillars were they balanced because one was masculine, one was feminine. So there you have the balance. See, the Bible is talking about it's metaphors. It's metaphorical. That's what it's talking about. So when you take away the divine feminine, when you take away the feminine part, because the Bible says God created man in his image, male and female, he created them. So if he created male and female in his image, then God, or the idea of God, has to be both male and female. And when you take away that feminine, that motherly, that role, all you're left with is the severity. It's like, kids that they misbehave, they do things wrong, and they don't listen to mama, but when she says, I'm going to tell your daddy when he gets home, whoa, everything stops, because they know daddy, unlike mommy, will really light them up. And but that's the mindset today. We have wars, we have these riots and everything. Why? Because the masculine rules. It's all there is now. So, Patricia, you say there is an idea mindset that if someone had AIDS or some other disease, that if they had sex with a child, it would go away. I don't suppose you would think those in other countries ascribe to whatever kind of malignant ring this is, do you? I haven't heard that, but it sounds just about right to me that they think they would think that if they had sex with a little child that it would go away, that they could somehow transfer their disease or whatever they had to the child as far as a cleansing. Yes, that sounds about par for the course. This excuse me, this is something that is in just about every country. I mean, there's pedophilia is rampant, but it's the organized pedophilia. It's sure there's people that live out in the middle of nowhere. They live in the jungle. They live in the desert. They live in the mountains. That would never come close to rubbing elbows or being friends or acquaintances with these people that I'm talking about. These people are part of a highly organized group, and I say group. It's more like an entire world. It's like a world within this world, because at a certain point or a certain level, just like Ghislaine Maxwell. Take Ghislaine Maxwell, for example. She has so many connections globally and she has wealth. She has tremendous wealth. She has tremendous assets, and she had contacted her sisters, or her sisters came to her aid. They were going to pay her bail, which is something like over $1 million. And the woman who was Jeffery Epstein's first the first known victim of Jeffrey Epstein, I think when she was 13, maybe 14, she was the one that contacted the FBI about Jeffrey Epstein. And it's been a few days ago, maybe a week ago, when they had set Ghislaine's bail at something like $5 million, dollars or whatever, and then they revoked it. They pulled it back. The reason that they denied her bail is because this woman that was the first to bring to the world bring to the public what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. She got a call in the middle of the night from an unknown number saying that when Ghislaine made bail, that her 2-year-old child was dead, or that if she testified against Ghislaine Maxwell, that her 2-year-old child was dead. And she notified the authorities, I think the NYPD or whatever, and they notified the judge, and the judge said, no, bail denied. You will be held until your court date, which is next year, July the 12th. So she'll be in lockdown 23 hours a day. And they said she just, collapsed, just crying and, Okay, who cares? I mean, this woman's a monster, just like Epstein was a monster. But they were also much more. Now, you have to understand that when we talk about Ghislaine Maxwell, and her name looks like it's Ghislaine, but it's Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell is very, very powerful, like I said, with her wealth, with her assets. But the power the real power she has is in her connections. And her connections, they don't come necessarily just from her. They come from who her father was. And her father was a man named Robert Maxwell. And Robert Maxwell was the greatest, the most, the best, the most successful super spy that Israel has ever had. He was an Israeli super spy. He was a Mossad agent, and Mossad, of course, is the Israeli intelligence. And Robert Maxwell, of course, that wasn't his real name. Robert Maxwell was not his real name. He changed his name because he was Jewish. And so, therefore, if he had kept his Jewish name, he couldn't have blended in as a spy. His real name is Jan Ludwig Hyman Benjamin Hoch, Hoch. And he was a very, very powerful, extremely powerful man, and like I said, was he wasn't a Mossad agent for nothing. I mean, to be in the Mossad, you have to be talented. You have to know things. This man could speak 8 different languages fluently, and was a force to be reckoned with. And he's the one that paves the road for his favorite and youngest child, Ghislaine. And she has she has never, she has never wanted for anything. This is a socialite. She has always, and don't believe everything you hear. Don't believe everything you read. When the media says she met Prince Andrew in the 1990s, okay, she might have met him, but in as far as she met him for lunch, okay? This is a woman that grew up with the royal family. Robert Maxwell, there are pictures, there's video of Robert Maxwell with Ghislaine, with his children. He has other children. I believe 9 children. She's the youngest. And you see them, and they're with the royal family. You see Robert Maxwell with Queen Elizabeth. You see Ghislaine with Prince Andrew. I mean, as children. So all of this that they met in 1990 is a crock. It's to smooth things over and to make the public lenient on Ghislaine and Jeffery Epstein, for that matter. It's to take away. Well, it's to deceive. And I find it very interesting that the motto for Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency, their motto is literally, by deception we shall make war. By deception we shall make war. And Robert Maxwell was a publishing tycoon. He owned several newspapers, and this guy was something else. I mean, he had passports for all these different countries. He came to the United States. He was spying from the Los Alamos nuclear laboratory, and was feeding all of this information back to Israel. And what's even more important than that is there were many people that knew about it. They knew he was doing it, but no one wanted to be the one to take down Robert Maxwell. He was that big until Texas Senator John Tower. They said, hey, here's a man that we can get to take down Maxwell. And John Tower did. But after he did, John Tower's political career just went into a downward spiral and was never the same. That's the truth. You say, I know it may sound ridiculous or incompetent or even rude, but you never know. That's right. That's right. Trust me, this has been an eye-opener, really, really big. But it goes back to the case of the octopus and Danny Castellero. And if you don't know what that is, it deals with the Promise or the Promise software debacle. It's a big deal about that. There was a software that was made to go into computers and TVs as a secret backdoor, an entryway, or I guess you could say like an open hack that could be hacked by anyone with the key to it, with the password, the code, or whatever to it, and that was this Promise software. Robert Maxwell was a part of this, and of course, being Israeli intelligence, Israel was the main one that was behind this. They wanted this placed, this backdoor placed in computers, software, so they could monitor, and not just them, but the U.S. government and all of the affiliated agencies, which I will not name. I want to stay off the radar as much as I can. Trust me on that. But the three-letter agencies, all of them. Well, if they can monitor by these back doors, whatever they can monitor, Israel can monitor. I find it very telling that now, when there's a new senator or there's a new representative in the U.S. government, that they must pledge or sign an oath of loyalty to Israel. What does that say? What does that say? And the point that I'm getting to is Ghislaine Maxwell, Robert Maxwell. They changed their name to better blend in. They are, their real name is Hawk, H-O-C-H. It's Jewish. Jeffery Epstein, Jewish. Now, I'm not picking on Jewish people. I'm not saying that every Jewish person is in on this or that they're bad. I'm simply stating a point. I'm stating facts. I'm stating evidence. I'm giving you evidence of that, And Jeffrey Epstein was very, very close to the billionaire Les Wexner, the one who owned Victoria's Secret, Abercrombie, and Fitch, Bath and Body, or Bath and Beyond. That's where Epstein got his mansions, got his basically whatever he wanted. Wexner made sure that he got it. Now, Les Wexner, is also Jewish. And so when you start looking, and you start seeing these patterns, and what I'm saying is if it was, I don't care what ethnicity, I don't care what nationality, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just saying that there's a repeating pattern here, that many of these people, these elite people that are interconnected, in this case, they're Jewish. Look at Harvey Weinstein, Jewish. Most of Hollywood, Jewish. Again, not every Jewish person. I'm not picking on anyone. I'm not being anti-Semitic at all. I just want to make that plainly clear. Okay, but this goes back to Danny Castellero investigating what he called the octopus. And what I've come to believe is that he called it the octopus because it reached into every sector, every government, every branch. It was in the media. It reached into the media. It controlled the media. It controlled the governments. It was everywhere. And each leg or each tentacle or arm, whatever you want to call it, was a different vice or a different no-no, a different crime. It's a criminal, syndicate. And one of those tentacles was pedophilia, sex trafficking. It has been the main thing about Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffery Epstein. Now, there's many people that say that Robert Maxwell, her father, put Epstein, told Epstein to protect and watch over Ghislaine. Basically, that basically Epstein was her handler. But I have always said, and I still say, it was just the other way around. Ghislaine Maxwell was Epstein's handler. She was the one in charge. This is not a woman that takes orders from anybody. She's a leader, not a follower. And there's many people that say that when Les Wexner needed someone to do something that required, just cutthroat, to be the bad guy, to fire someone or really come down on someone very, very hard, ruthlessly, he always called on Epstein, because Epstein was known for being ruthless. But there's many people, and I can see it myself. I agree with those that say that Ghislaine, those that have experienced being victims of both Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, they said that Ghislaine was 10 times more ruthless, more sadistic, and just more of a psychopath than Epstein was. And so that gives you some idea of why that she was denied bail. Patricia, you say, unfortunately, some people will think it's anti-Semitic anyway, just because you're calling people out. Absolutely, and that is something that is a very important point, because what even some Jewish people will tell you is those that are being honest. They've said, and you can look it up on YouTube on the show that Amy Goodman hosts. There's this one episode where she's talking to this Jewish woman that used to serve in the Israeli government or whatever, or something like that. Very, very powerful. And she's asked, how do you shut people down that criticize Israel, or that call Israel out on crimes against humanity, getting away with things that no other country could possibly get away with. And she said, well, it's very easy. She said, we label them as anti-Semitic. And when we do, she said, they're basically, they're shut down. It's just like, someone that's not a pedophile, that's accused of being a pedophile, or that's suspected of being a pedophile, and it's made public. Well, whether or not that person is actually a pedophile makes no difference. They're ruined. They're completely ruined. Because from that time on, anyone that sees them, they're not going to say, okay, we're going to give this, we're going to give this person, the benefit of the doubt. No, people aren't fair. They would say, here comes the pedophile, and or if a person's going look for a job or promotion, whatever. No, that's the pedophile guy. When it's just something. It's just an accusation. It's someone said, well, they could be lying and say, well, he did this, he did that. It turns out not to be true. It doesn't matter. Person's ruined anyway. How far back does this go? Okay, like I said, it's something that's been going on throughout history, but in the 1980s, it was Danny Casolaro was investigating the octopus, and he was about to make a big breakthrough. He had information on Robert Maxwell. He had information on the Iran-Contra scandal, which we won't go into, but every aspect, the media, everything, and he had a huge story that he was ready to break. He just needed to meet with one more person. So he met with that person in a motel in Maryland, and this was before laptops and computers and everything. He had a huge briefcase, like a suitcase full of records and notes, and he had cassette recordings and all of these things to give as testimony, as evidence that these things were going on. And Danny Casolaro told his friends and family, I'm not suicidal. If something happens to me, just know that I did not commit suicide. And he was getting calls. His housekeeper said he was getting calls. He was getting threats from strangers, from unknown people, and that he just kept pushing, And Danny Casolaro was found, I believe it was in 1991. He was found in that Maryland motel room in the bathtub with both wrists slit and blood all over the floor, all four walls, and the ceiling. It was definitely not a sight that you would want to see. The only thing is it's impossible to slit both wrists when the first wrist that you slit, you almost sever your hand. You can't very well almost sever your hand and take the knife and hold the knife when your hand's barely hanging by a thread and slice the other hand almost off. But that was the case. And the coroner said, suicide. But wait a minute. How? That's impossible. No one could do that. Doesn't matter. Suicide. And Danny Casolaro was buried, and that was a long time ago. Okay? Now, you move up to the murder of JonBenet Ramsey, little 6-year-old beauty queen, her mom and dad, John and Patricia Ramsey. Okay, there's a photograph that is online of a woman that is in front of or coming to the side of JonBenet at this little pageant or something a few months before JonBenet was murdered. And by the way, she was murdered. She was raped. She was raped. She was sodomized. She was murdered in what I would consider a ritualistic, murder. There was a wire. There was a garrote with a wire around her throat, around her neck, with a painting brush used to twist the rope, tighten the rope, and she was murdered and raped in the wine cellar. The very bottom of the house there, the Ramsey house, and it was during Christmas, and that's when the whole thing about the ransom letter came out, and it was very, very cryptic, and there were certain things in there that, like there was a Bible verse, and the chapter of the book chapter, I think it was a psalm, the number was the number equal to John Ramsey's Christmas bonus. So there was a lot of weird things there that kind of pointed to, were the Ramseys involved in their daughter's murder? Were they involved in trafficking or whatever? I just want to read you something that has been discovered. Is this right here. After JonBenét's murder, her father, John Ramsey, appointed Haddon, Morgan, and Foreman, a law firm based in Colorado, to uncover the mysterious murder of his daughter. At the time John Ramsey signed up with the firm, none other than Ghislaine Maxwell was working in the firm with her close friend, Laura Menninger. Or Menninger. I'm not sure, but anyway. It is the expertise of Haddon, Morgan, and Foreman to look deeper into child abduction and trafficking rackets. The firm then put Laura Menninger, the close friend of Ghislaine Maxwell, in charge of the case. Now you do the math on that. You do the math on that. And if you look at that picture, you can go to my group, the Texas Live podcast on Facebook. And you can see that picture, of course, just, I'll let you in, just, you'll see the picture, or go online, Google it, you'll see the partial face. I'm telling you, it's my belief that is none other than Ghislaine Maxwell, because not only the structure, the facial structure, but she's smiling. And she's looking at JonBenet in this very predatory gaze, this look like, well, it's just a signature look that, But what's telling to me is she's smiling, and on her right cheek there's a dimple. It's a very distinct dimple. And in other pictures, of Ghislaine Maxwell, you see that same dimple. You see that same indentation, whatever. That's big time. That's huge. And now, I haven't found any ties between Epstein and the Ramseys, but I find it very interesting that Ghislaine Maxwell, born in, I believe it was England, and here she is working at the law firm that John Ramsey goes to investigate the death of his daughter, and they put none other than her close friend, if not her best friend, in charge of the case. Okay. Now, let's talk about what has taken place as far as Wayfair. Wayfair, they had, many of you have heard this, you already know this, but there's some things that you might not have considered that I'd like to touch on. is that they had cabinets and armoires that were priced like $13,000, $15,000. And we're talking about Wayfair. We're talking about cabinets that they're not made of gold, they're not made of platinum, they're not made of silver. Just normal looking cabinets to me. And for $13,000, $15,000, that's a lot to pay for a cabinet. So what's the deal? Well, it wasn't a glitch because there was they were very, you could tell that they were priced, that it wasn't a glitch, and they had distinct names. Now, the names of these cabinets and even pillows and things like that were names of girls, names of children, teenagers that were missing. I kid you not. It's like there's a cabinet here that I will put on in the Facebook group and on the Texas Live website, and I'll give you that link, the address at the end of this. But there's the it says it's the Yaritza storage cabinet by WFX Utility for $13,799.99. And it was marked down from $15,975. Okay, that is an expensive storage cabinet. It's just got 2 doors. It's very small. There is a girl that is missing, that's been missing since June 10th, 2020. Not that long ago. Like a month. What's her name? Her name is Yaritza Castro. Missing since June 10th, 2020. Missing from Harwinton, Connecticut. She's 16 years old. Okay, there's a zodiac sign, astrological constellation, personalized throw pillow. We're talking throw pillow, people. Throw pillow. For $9,999. What's the name of the zodiac sign, astrological constellation, throw pillow? The Dunning. Just so happens that that's the last name of another missing girl. Tori Dunning, 15 years old. Missing from Mount Airy, North Carolina. 15-year-old, very, very beautiful girl. Missing. The Dunning. And that pillow is, there's nothing spectacular about it. I mean, $10,000 pillow. Makes no sense, okay? Then there's another pillow that is the same thing, the same pillow, but it's, instead of it being named the Dunning, it's named the Duplessis. The Duplessis zodiac sign, astrological constellation, personalized throw pillow. Duplessis happens to be the last name of a 13-year-old girl missing from Southfield, Michigan. Her name is Samara Duplessis. The same spelling. Same exact spelling. And after the conspiracy was made known, Wayfair removed all the highly priced cabinets from their site. You know, saying that there had been a glitch. That, you know, I'm not a glitch, but they said these are industrial cabinets. They're industrial cabinets. And I'm thinking, well, I don't care how industrial they are. There's no cabinet like that that's going to cost $15,000, $16,000, and then you mark it down to $13,000. Oh, whoa, you're getting a big deal. There's something going on. And yes, it's industrial, so therefore, you know, it's this amount of money, thousands and thousands of dollars. But what's very telling is that now those very cabinets that they said were priced like that because they were industrial, they've all been repriced approximately $500 after this was brought to light, after Wayfair was called out on it. There's another dandelion flower cushion cover waist throw pillow, case home, decor lot. It's a pillow that has a red flower on it, some greenery. This one pillow is $29,300. $29,300. Now, I just want to make something that, I mean, we're all adults, so this pillow has a flower on it, okay? Now, symbolically, as far and esoterically, the vagina is often referred to as a flower. And if you look at this pillow, you can see, and I'll put this on the group site, I'll put it on the Texas website. You can see where this could be showing a flower, but also as a symbol or symbolically showing the vagina. Because really, someone's going to pay $29,300 for a pillow that's probably, I don't know, 12 inches by 10 inches. I mean, it's just a very small pillow. Okay, not only is Wayfair doing this, but Alibaba out of China. They have a plastic outdoor playset, children amusement park. Last year it was $20 to $50 for the set. Okay? This year they had a little price increase. The price increased to $5,800 to get this. $5,800 to $5,800. What? It was $20 to $50. Why would you put $5,800 to $5,800? Why wouldn't you just list a single price? Maybe because you're selling something else. Only you're selling two of them. I mean, it's insane. It's like saying, okay, it's between $5 and $5. And you have to understand, these people, when they speak, they can speak to each other and carry on a conversation, and if you're listening, you will think they're talking completely about something else. You'll think that you've got the inside knowledge on what they were talking about, and because of their use of metaphors and different in symbolic language, symbolism, you would have no idea what they really said. And they're carrying on a conversation about possibly trafficking children, raping children, killing children, and you would be none the wiser. Why? Because they have the key and you don't. Language, the structure, and symbolism. Symbolism is the number one thing, and they use it all the time. They use it in plain sight because most people, the everyday, citizen, they don't have time to, look into this stuff. They don't have time to research and study how they use the terms and the words that they use. And many of them, they'll use what's called word salad. They'll say a lot, and it sounds good. They use huge words, very sophisticated words, but in the end, most people leave and they're like, "Wow, that was incredible." And then when they think about it, or with people that I've talked to, that's told me about some politician or some speaker giving a tremendous speech. What was the message though? What was the underlying message of what they said? And they couldn't tell me, because it was all word salad, just spewed out. Sounds good, but it has no meaning whatsoever. It's just filler. And that many of them use if you're not in the clique, if you're not part of the group, and a very, very small percentage of people are, you don't matter. And let me tell you, for all of you out there that are listening that think, and I'm not just talking about these sick people, I'm talking about these elite people, the billionaires. If you think for 1 minute, if you believe for 1 minute that they give a damn about you, about the common people, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I'm just talking about most people, they're not millionaires, much less billionaires. But if you think that they give a damn about you, your family, your life, anything about you, if you think they would help you or even allow you into their groups and their clubs and their establishments, you're badly mistaken. Now, there's some politicians, some leaders and politicians and people in powerful positions that act like they do. The truth is, they wouldn't touch you with a 10-foot pole, and if it wasn't for that, they wouldn't even speak to you. They view almost everyone else that is not on, they don't consider on their level, as basically not even human, or they consider themselves above human, which is why that those that have been raised, that were born and raised by these elite families, if they were, this is no lie, if they were let go, if they were free to roam the streets, or say they had to go out and get a job themselves, or they had to had to go shopping for groceries, or they had to, make their car payment, make the payment for the for their utilities, for their gas, for their electricity. They couldn't do it. They could not do it. Why? Because they grew up in a world that is so much different from the world most of us grew up in that it's mind-boggling. As far as these very, very elite families, these very, very wealthy, multi-millionaire, billionaire families, they never drove anywhere. They were always chauffeured. I mean, there was a chauffeur that took them to and from where they needed to go. And as far as working things out or facing problems on their own, they didn't get that. And there's many of us that say, oh man, I'm going through this, I'm going through that, I'm facing this, I'm facing that, and it's just, it's killing me, I hate it. You know what it's doing? It is refining you. It's making you stronger. These people, like Ghislaine Maxwell and certain others, they never had to learn how to, quote unquote, survive. They never had a need to. And it shows. But this is a huge thing that I'll also put on the side. All of these I'm going to put up. On the Alibaba site, I kid you not, if you do a search for adrenochrome, adrenochrome is produced by the human body in response to extreme trauma, fear, pain, as in torture, or literally dying. No lie. Adrenochrome is released, it's a biochemical that is released by the brain during intense fear, anticipation of trauma or horrible pain or death, and it's so powerful. It's like hundreds of times more powerful than methamphetamine. So that tells you right there something. This is something that's very, very dangerous. Something that people would literally kill for. No pun intended. And that's what they do. They torture and they kill for this. Now for the longest time, when someone would mention adrenochrome and how they harvest it, which is directly from the brain, people, that's just, that's a myth, it's just, that's an urban myth or whatever. Well, it turns out that it's not, because on the Alibaba side, if you do a search, or if you did a search, and I have it right here, adrenochrome, it comes up, high quality, best price adrenochrome, US $1 to $100 per kilogram. And then it says, contact supplier. So it tells me that Alibaba is just the middleman. If you want it, you have to contact the supplier. So who's the one, or who's supplying the adrenochrome? Pretty stupid if you ask me. Because like this plastic outdoor playset, it also says contact supplier. Okay, nothing wrong with that, only the price. I mean, and then the different things, contact supplier. But adrenochrome? That'd be like, okay, high quality, best price corpse or cadaver, or, if you want to buy this, you can contact the supplier. it doesn't make sense, is what I'm saying. So, this is also with Jeffrey Epstein. Things just don't add up. It's like, okay, Epstein was charged in 2000, what was it, 2006, 2008, of sex with a minor and doing this and that. And he was basically given a slap on the wrist. I mean, he was in jail or prison, and they gave him work release, and his cell was like a penthouse suite. I mean, it was just, but that's just it. Is with his wealth, incredible wealth, but more than that, his connections. You're not going to tell me that people weren't paid off to go easy on him. But one thing that is really, really telling is that a quote from Alexander Acosta, the former Labor Secretary of the United States. He said, quote, "I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone," end of quote. Okay, the guy is raping young girls. He has an island that is so notorious. It's called Lolita Island. But Acosta was told to leave him alone because he belonged to intelligence. It doesn't say what intelligence, does it? It just says intelligence. Okay? Now, another thing about the Wayfair site with these very, very high priced, unbelievably priced furniture. There's an ad for the twin 66.1 inch Ghislaine convertible sofa. Yes, it's named Ghislaine. And they have many, many items that is named Ghislaine. But the price is what is very, very unusual because it's a decimal price. It has a dollar sign, the dollar symbol, 18.3003648256. So when you look at that, it's like, well, what the hell's that? I mean, it doesn't make sense. When I saw it, that's a code of some kind. It has to be. And sure enough, it is. Because 18.3003 degrees north and 64.8256 degrees west are the exact coordinates of Jeffrey Epstein's Little St. James Island. Again, the twin Ghislaine convertible sofa says on sale 18.3003-646-8256. When you break that down, when you half that, 18.3003 degrees north, 64.8256 degrees west, the exact coordinates for Jeffrey Epstein's Little St. James Island. Explain that, Wayfair. Explain that. And also, the Wayfair's SKU codes, which are very, it's very strange. The SKU codes are codes that that are used to keep stock. It's like stock units. How they keep that. The numbers when there were people on different sites that were taking and they were placing these SKU unit numbers, tracking numbers on these items. They were putting them on different browsers, different like Chrome, Google Chrome, Bing, I believe Opera. And then someone said, well, what about a Russian website? Why not, or browser, why not, search that? So they did. And what it brought up was photos of young girls. It brought up photos of young children. And these were not just normal photos of young children. These were very it was very sexual pictures of little girls, little boys, and it's really sickening. I mean, just big time. And you're right, Patricia. There's a baby book, a $10,000 baby book, but I guess it's an industrial baby book. I mean, good grief. Come on. And you say also they investigated themselves and said they didn't do anything like this stuff. Seems legit. Yeah, it sure does. Oh, you investigated yourself. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, we'll just move on. Not. Patricia said the names freaked you out and gave you a shiver down your spine. What names? The girls' names. This is not giving me your comments right away, so I apologize for that. So I wonder if these people are sent alive and how are they sent? That's just it. Is I believe something else is at work here. They're not going to send a child in a cabinet to a buyer in another country or even another state. Number one, child would be kicking and screaming in the cabinet. Someone's going to notice it and they're going to, no, that's not going to work. It's all about diversion. It's all about diverting your attention to something else, And people are saying, well, it can't be that, they're not trafficking children because it would be impossible to transfer a child in a cabinet or piece of furniture. Of course it would be. What I believe it is I believe that these people there are people that place orders and the merchandise may or may not even be sent because it's not what they're buying. They just click, probably anonymously, and they probably have a place set up that can't be traced. They're probably using throwaway phones or whatever, but they're saying, okay, I want to buy this item, and it's all worked up and everything. The item, the cabinet, is never sent. The child, or if this is actually human trafficking, this is how it works. The child is not anywhere near Wayfair or near a Wayfair warehouse. They're held probably in another state, probably in a place that no one would ever even imagine to look. And with the money that these people have, you could look and look and look and you would never find it, and it could be right under your feet. The Jeffery Epstein's accuser, the first to make the accusations, she said that that at Les Wexner's mansion in Ohio, that there's something like a 10,000 foot basement that I believe she said that it lifts up hydraulically, that it literally lifts up, and underneath that there's different there's just plush, everything is just unbelievable, and it's on a level and a lifestyle that most of us have never lived and will never live, and can't even imagine. But yeah, so let's say that the child or the children are there somewhere like that, and I'm not saying Les Wexner is, I'm just putting that out there. A place like that, and the order's made, the cabinet's never sent, but the information's gathered. There's a point where the child, whether the child is in another state or another country, it's just a matter of going online, processing the information, probably offshore, processing the payment, and it says 13,000. It's more like 130,000 or more. And once that's done, it's probably an offshore account. Once the money has reached that, then they take the necessary measures to deliver the child to the pedophile. And that could be what happened to Madeleine McCann that went missing. And I just want to say that her parents really, really creep me out, because they're jovial, they're laughing, they're not your typical grieving parents. And trust me, I know, having been a funeral director 20 years, worked in the funeral industry 20 years plus, and being an embalmer, I would go and you pick up men, women, and children, and grieving parents, they're not laughing, they're not making jokes, even days or weeks after, much less days after. And I found it very, very strange that Madeleine McCann's mother just happened to say, she said something like, it just really, really bothers me to think about what a grown man might be doing to her beautiful little genitalia. It's like, what? What did you just say? I mean, what? Why would you say that? I mean, really? I mean, that is really, really strange. Matilda, hello there, heavy stuff. You say, I'm glad it's not just me thinking all the same things. Yes. Well, there's many of us that are, of like mind, because we have an open mind, not so open that our brains fall out, but this is like I said, where there's smoke, there's fire. And this is like a damn forest fire. This is like Australia being on fire. I mean, there's smoke everywhere. And people are walking around, they're choking their damn heads off, They're not getting any oxygen. And, they're crawling on the ground because of the smoke, and they're acting like there's no smoke. There's a hell of a lot of smoke. Open your eyes. But what it is that a lot of researchers, a lot of investigators, even professional, police, law enforcement, they don't want to investigate this. They don't want to, because let me tell you, there have been many researchers, been many journalists, reporters, like I said, even law enforcement themselves. Scotland Yard. There was a man yesterday that I heard that was, talking about, with the Wayfair thing, the child trafficking has really come back, into the public eye. And he said that in the UK, that he worked for Scotland Yard, was working Scotland Yard, and he was investigating child trafficking, pedophilia. And he said that he discovered something that was very, very troublesome, very, very unsettling, because it involved people in very high positions, very, very prominent people in government and in other positions of power. And he said that he went to different places, and the more that he researched, the more that he investigated, the deeper it went. And he said that what was really, really frightening to him is that, someone that he worked with, I don't know if it was his partner or, what, but anyway, they worked together, supposedly fighting crime. And this man told him, his friend told him, he said, I'm just going to tell you this, he says, take it for what it's worth. He said, I'm warning you, back off. Stop your investigation. Guy says, what? What are you saying? And he said, what I'm saying is if you go any higher, they will end you. They will literally end you. That will be it. It's done. It's over. You're over. And he's thinking, this is Scotland Yard. This is, probably, we're talking real power here, right? Wrong. There are people that many look at as being people of power. And if you can see them and you know their names, they don't have true power. They're puppets. It's the ones that are controlling them, the ones that give them their instructions, the ones that tell them what to do, that have the real power. And when they tell them to do something, they do it. When they tell them to stop doing something, they stop doing it. And you will never know their names. You will never see them. And if you do, you won't know it's them. They're like chameleons. They blend. They can be anyone, and they can be everyone. You never know the difference. But that's how psychopathy works. That's how psychopaths are. They're not out running around with a knife, out killing everybody, and freaking out. No. They do it by what? By deception. They make you think that they're someone they're not. Make you think that they're normal. They make you think that they're this loving, compassionate, caring person when it's all just mimicking what they've learned from other people, from monitoring other people, watching other people, learning how real people act, how normal people act. Because they themselves, they're unable to feel empathy, compassion, or even regard for anyone. They view a human being just like we would view a log or a material item. There you go. I mean, they're trafficking. You traffic arms, you traffic, guns, you traffic weapons, drugs. They traffic people. Why? Because they view them as being not human. They're lower than human. But another thing is that was also very telling is that Wayfair had the same cabinets, the same exact cabinets. There'd be one for like $12,000 and one for $15,000. The exact same cabinet. So if it's the same exact cabinet, then why the different prices on the same unit? Because they're not selling the unit. They're just, it's just that they want to appear to be selling the unit, but they weren't very bright as far as, like if you're going to do that, don't hire, third grade Ricky to, structure this. I mean, because it was very sloppy. And I'm glad it was. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad it was. But there's more to it than gosh. Well, let's see. I'm just going to go ahead and say this, and then we'll cover more tomorrow night. Really lay into it, but this is Wayfair in 2018. Okay, Wayfair in 2018, they had a walkout. Mass walkout. People weren't quitting, but they just walked out. So I did a little backtracking to the history of Wayfair and different things lately. And let's see. 2018, employees of the online warehouses giant Wayfair announced Tuesday they would stage a walkout at the company's Back Bay headquarters on Wednesday to protest its decision to sell furniture to the operators of facilities for migrant children detained at the southern U.S. border. Last Wednesday, they learned that a $200,000 order of bedroom furniture had been placed by BCFS, a government contractor that has been managing detainment camps at the border. More than 500 employees signed a letter of protest sent to company executives when the company refused to change course. Employees organized the walkout. Knowing what's going on at the southern border and knowing that Wayfair has the potential to profit from it is pretty scary, said Elizabeth Good, a manager on the engineering team at the company and one of the walkout's 24 organizers. I want to work at a company where the standards we hold ourselves are the same standards we hold our other customers and partners to. So, Wayfair is selling furniture to these detainment camps where migrant children, again, migrant children are being held. Not migrants, but migrant children are being held. Okay? Now, I do a little more, I'm thinking, okay, there has to be something to this. $200,000 worth of bedroom furniture or whatever. That's pretty steep. I mean, so it's let me find it here. Okay. Let's see. Oh, okay. So at okay, with ICE and the Border Patrol, when a child comes across from Mexico, Guatemala, whatever, South America into the United States, they're taken and they're placed in a camp. Only thing is the New York Times back in 2018, it says U.S. loses track of another 15,000 migrant children, investigators find. What? U.S. loses track of another 15,000 migrant children, investigators find. What in the world? I mean, what are we talking about? Okay, Wayfair. They're charging these huge prices. I mean, these outrageous prices for this furniture that is nowhere near that amount. I mean, we're talking prints. We're talking pictures that are prints that the price is $30,000. Okay, connect the dots. You have Wayfair. Their connection to what? Migrant children. Camps that are holding migrant children. And then you have the news story that says the U.S. loses track of 15,000 migrant children. Only it doesn't say that. It says U.S. loses track of another 15,000 migrant children. So what they're saying is another means that they've previously lost 15,000 children. They've lost track of 15,000 children. Well, it goes on, and like I said, the word salad. Okay, listen to this. Washington. The Trump administration is unable to account for the whereabouts of nearly 1,500 migrant children who illegally entered the United States alone this year, and this is 2018, and were placed with sponsors. They were placed with sponsors after leaving federal shelters, according to congressional findings released. The revelation echoes an admission in April by the Department of Health and Human Services that the government had similarly lost track of an additional 1,475 migrant children it had moved out of shelters last year. In findings that lawmakers described as troubling, Senate investigators said the department could not determine with certainty the whereabouts of 1,488 out of 11,254 children the agency had placed with sponsors in 2018 based on follow-up calls from April 1st to June 30th. The inability to track the whereabouts of migrant children after they have been released to sponsors has raised concerns that they could end up with human traffickers or be used as laborers by people posing as relatives. Huh? You think? You think that may be or could be what's going on? Or could it be even more sinister? Could the Department of Health and Human Services, could it be that the government? I'm just asking a valid question with a certain satisfaction, I might add. Could it be that there are elements within the government that they're not losing track of the children? Again, I'm just theoretically saying, what if some elements of the government, they're not losing track of the children, and when it says that they're placing them with sponsors, they're actually selling them to traffickers or to pedophiles themselves. And, there's many people that say, well, they shouldn't have entered the country in the first place, all this macho BS, They shouldn't have entered the country in the first place. They're children. Sit down and shut your mouth. Adults, okay, I don't think they need to be, sold into slavery. We're talking about children. Some very, very young. I'm talking, toddlers, 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds. I don't care how old they are. They're children. So anybody that has a problem with, this guy, he's for people entering the country illegally. No, I'm not. What I'm saying is these are children. They're kids. And no one deserves to be sold or to be used or trafficked into sex or labor or anything else. But most of all, children definitely do not deserve to be abused or used or sold. And I believe that that's what's happening. Because when you connect everything, it's the perfect plan. Okay? Think about it. It's the perfect plan. And how do you lose track of that many children with today's technology, with today's record keeping? You don't lose track of them. It's impossible. Get real. It is impossible to lose track of children. Okay? New York Times. Another article that I uncovered. New York Times. Headline says, U.S. placed immigrant children with traffickers, report says. Court adjourned. There you go. U.S. placed immigrant children with traffickers, report says. Do you think they placed them with traffickers freely? Just, hey, okay, here, we're gonna. Or do you think there was money? There was money paid. There was an exchange of money. Well, you do the math on that. Nothing's for free, right? And it is insane to believe that there was an exchange that those children were placed with traffickers, and at no cost. I mean, someone has to profit. I mean, really, someone has to make a profit. Someone has to make money off of this. And in the case of migrant children, if this is the case, and it seems to be, then would you, if you were the one that was making money off this, a ton of money, would you be against people entering the country illegally? I don't believe so. I think that you would actually welcome it, because you're making money. I mean, you're not having to go out and get or take the product that you're selling. The product's coming to you. And it's sickening. These are children. Let me see here. Let me do this, and then we'll close for the night. Let's see. Yes, this is there's so much more, and it gets even worse. It's just nonstop. And I never knew this. I never knew that it was this bad. I never knew that this could possibly be the case. But there's there's child sex trafficking going on in California, Texas, Arizona, or I believe that's the top three. That's the highest in the country, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry that is going on. It's just crazy. And of course the reason is because we're on the border. I mean, let's see, talks about how that in Arizona there's been a lot of things, a lot of horror stories, not horrific things that have happened, that's happened in Arizona, and not just Arizona, but Arizona is a huge problem. And what I'm saying is I don't care who this offends. If it offends you, then maybe you need to be offended. If it offends you, then, or if it bothers you, because I'm saying this, and I'm not saying this because I'm not saying this because I'm accusing. I'm saying this because the facts that I've seen, that are listed, that are that have been proven, is that this is a systematic taking of not only migrant children, but children, American children, children in our country, in the United States. And those responsible, they have taken the children, and I'm talking about like CPS, Child Protective Services. Give me a break. Do a Google search about Arizona Child Protective Services and read about what they've done. The horrible, horrible things that they've done. They've taken children, infants, 2-year-olds, from the custody of their parents for whatever reason. And most people don't realize that CPS can come into your house. They can deem you and your spouse as not being intelligent enough, being not having a mind that you're just a little slow, or you're borderline mentally challenged. You're lacking, and they deem that you can't properly take care of or care for your child, although you've done nothing but do that very thing. But they say that, you can't, so therefore, for the safety of the child, we're going to have to remove the child from you. And they do. And they have. Okay, in Arizona, 2-year-old girl taken from her parents, placed in a foster home, where she was raped over 80 times, sodomized by this big, huge man. I mean, this guy looks like a WWF wrestler. I mean, just huge, and it makes me sick. Because this little girl, I had tears running down my face. This little girl just looks like the most beautiful little smile, and so tiny, and just so beautiful, and so innocent. And not only the man did this, not only the man abused her, but his wife took the little girl, and put her in scalding bath water that scalded her little body so bad that 80% of her body was burned, horribly burned, and she was so burned, so scalded, they had to amputate her toes, all of her toes. This is wrong. This is wrong. I don't give a damn about it being the government or the federal, Child Protective Services. Who cares? I don't give a damn who you are. You don't go into a house and take a child and call yourself Protective Services. No. What are you doing? Well, if I had to say, you're being paid off by pedophiles, by sick pedophiles, because you're in a position to take children that they want. What do? Do they place an order with you? And I'm not talking to every CPS agent. I'm talking about those few or several, those that do that. Those that take a child out of a home for whatever reason, even if the child's being abused, and then you take the child and you place it in a more abusive household, and don't tell me that, well, we didn't know. This couple, if you look it up online, 2-year-old girl, CPS, removed from home, she do a search, raped more than 80 times. Oh God, it's so sickening, it's so horrible. You're not going to tell me that they didn't know. These people, they had a list of allegations and charges that had been brought against them as long as my leg. So what does that tell you? It tells you that, number one, this is not just rogue pedophiles running around kidnapping children. This is basically what looks like to be, because to my knowledge, nothing happened to these CPS agents. Nothing happened to these ICE agents that lost to these detainment camp, these people that are responsible for these detainment camps or what. Nothing happened to any of these people. So what is that? Well, wouldn't that be called state-sponsored child trafficking? I think it would be. And it's very sad and very strange that there are none that are prosecuted. Why? Well, because they're in that position. They're Child Protective Services. They're the agent or whatever. So what can they do? Well, how about falsifying records? How about doing whatever they want to do because they're in a position to do it? Why do they do it? Because they can. Again, that's where that mindset comes in. I'm not saying that every person in Child Protective Services are like that. I'm saying it is that psychopathic, it's that psychopathy, it's that mindset. You see the children as being you see them as items for your own personal gain, and you don't see them as living, breathing, innocent, defenseless children. And because of that, let me tell you, bub and bub-s, man or woman, if it was up to me, I would, and I'm not trying to get graphic, I'm not trying to act like I'm a badass or anything. I'm being serious. After what I read, what happened to that 2-year-old girl, I could literally take that man and that woman out with a trench dug behind them and blow their brains out, and it would not bother me one bit. Not one. Well, it would. I would be happy. And I know that sounds strange. I mean, but I really would. And it would not. I doubt my heart rate would even increase. Nothing. No feeling. To be honest, I wouldn't be happy, and I wouldn't be sad. I would just be, I wouldn't feel anything. But I would make sure that their brains were blown out. I really would. And sounds very harsh, but if that was the approach, whether you want to call it the Wild West approach or whatever, before people did things like this, they would think, whoa, if I do this, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna be sent to jail where I'm gonna sit and and then I'm gonna go to trial. I'm gonna hire a fantastic lawyer that's going to have all charges dropped against me and twist and turn everything. Instead I'm gonna get my brains blown out. That would put a stop to this problem. Complex problems sometimes require simple solutions. It's just, not to mention that these, people that when they go to trial, when they go to jail, who pays for it? We do. We pay for it. And when they're put in prison, who pays for it? We do. It's insane. And I just want to close now, and this, like I said, there's so much more. Tomorrow night, I'm going to talk about the many mysterious deaths of people that have researched and investigated this very thing, this child trafficking. One of the names, which I'm sure that some of you know, is the actor Isaac Cappy, that was calling out certain people in Hollywood, and I know, he was calling out people that we all grew up with, such as Tom Hanks, some that are around our age, maybe younger, Seth Green, Oprah. I mean, a lot of people. And Isaac Cappy was, saying, hey, he says these people are pedophiles. He said they are part of a ring. He says, it's really bad, He said these people have power that is frightening, Okay, his last YouTube video that he made, he said that he had that he knew they were coming after him. He knew that he was going to pay. He was going to pay for what he had done. And he said, but that he was going to be safe. That he was going to be all right, And that was his last video, because shortly thereafter, I believe the next day, he was on a bridge in Arizona, and an overpass on the interstate, and he jumped off of that and was hit by a truck, where he committed suicide. Only that the only thing is that there were guys that were on the bridge with him that were supposedly trying to keep him from jumping. Now, this is a man that the day before he said, I am not suicidal. I have no desire to kill myself, and some people say that those that were on the bridge with him are actually the ones that made sure that he went over, that he, quote unquote, jumped from the bridge. Wouldn't surprise me. That's how it works. I mean, things are twisted, but Isaac Cappy reported his findings to the FBI on May 13th, 2019 on video chat, Periscope. The Arizona Department of Public Service said that troopers were called to milepost 185 at the Transwestern Road at 7:26 a.m. after hearing reports that a man had jumped from a bridge over the interstate at Belmont, Arizona, and had been hit by a pickup. He was 42 years old. So he died May 13th. He died May 13th, 2019. But he had reported his findings to the FBI, and nothing was done. Matter of fact, he was basically looked at as being crazy. Like you said, until you said gaslighting of the highest order. Yes. And I'm going to name names and everything tomorrow of not just reporters, investigators, researchers that have been mysteriously died or murdered, but they have these people. They have gone to the FBI. They have gone to Homeland Security. They have reported this, and they have been treated. They were treated like nobody wants to hear this, or basically move on. We don't hear this, and if they do listen, they're just pretending to listen, or they don't care. What does that tell you? It tells you that there's something else at work here. There's something else at work. There's some group, or there's some person, there's some powerful person, group that's controlling, is telling them what to do. Just like Acosta said when he asked about Jeffrey Epstein, they said, leave it alone. He's intelligence. It's like, yeah, don't touch that. And then another person, another guy said, when he asked about that, said, I don't know, said Epstein's above my pay grade, said, don't even think about touching that. But there's been these investigators, reporters, one named Jenny Moore, she ironically was found dead in a Maryland motel, just like Danny Casolaro was. And then you have Seth Rich that reported and submitted evidence of pedophilia and a lot of other different things. And shortly after he did, he was walking down the street from the pub that he was at in Washington, D.C. at 4:20 a.m. And they say that he was the victim of an attempted robbery. Someone just ran up and shot him in the back twice. And the only thing is they didn't take anything from him. no money, nothing. But they murdered him. And he died, was murdered on July the 10th, 2016. Moved to 2019, and that's when another, at the exact date, July 10th, 2019, is the exact date that Seth Rich was murdered, that another researcher, investigative journalist that I was very close to, didn't know her personally, but I'd followed her for a long time, for years. She was found after going through a lot that I'll discuss tomorrow night, that I'll talk about tomorrow night. A lot that involves not just pedophilia, not just child trafficking, but involves, as strange as it sounds, it involves things like CERN, it involves quantum physics, quantum tunneling, quantum computing, a lot of things about what I've talked about on the podcast. Very much so. These it's even talks about time travel, and the ones talking about it are the ones that are threatening her, and they do threaten her. Hackers. And they tell her things that go right along with what I've talked about as far as D-Wave quantum computing, alternative or multiverses, alternative realities, and believe it or not, the simulation theory. And it just keeps going and going and going. But I will talk about that tomorrow night. By the way, she also said in her last video, her last audio rather, she said she explained what was going on. She explained that these people were serious, and that they were the real deal, and that they had hacked her laptop, her PC, cell phones, smart TVs, and they were watching her, monitoring her. They were changing her. She would think she was on Facebook talking to her friends, and she would be talking to them because they had put up a false Facebook. It's like they had cloned her Facebook, or cloned Facebook itself, and she thought she was on the real Facebook, and there would be people that would contact her, and they would say something about what she was doing at that moment, which made her very paranoid, of course. Who's watching me? Or she would be watching TV, which would not be the actual TV program she was watching, but it would be another one of their copies or their screen, and so there would be actors that would be walking, or talking in a scene. They would stop, look outside the TV, and they would call her name and comment on what she was doing at that time, and then they would go back to acting. The movie would go. She thought she was losing her mind. And Matilda used to say gaslighting of the highest order, horrific. Exactly right. That's exactly what they were doing to her. The power they have to do things like that is unimaginable. We cannot imagine the power that they have to do things like that. And as far as Snowden and him giving the information that he has given, they're monitoring us. So they're monitoring a lot of people 24/7, and which begs the question: Why? And the answer cannot be good. That's the sad part. The answer cannot be good. But tomorrow night, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about much, much more, including Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed, where they come into the picture, and so much more. I mean, it is literally an octopus, just like Danny Castellero said. It just keeps going, and so anyway, I'm going to call it a night. Do you have any questions? Just wondering. I will be on tomorrow night at 10, same time, same place, and we will resume there. If you have to check tomorrow, but go to the Texarcist website. It's Texarcist. Texarcist. Not slash. Gosh. Anyway, let me type it on here. Yes, thank you. Until see you then. It's like 12:30 here, so I'm a little sleepy, or getting that way. Okay. And like I said, I will have those pictures and charts and information up by noon tomorrow, and then you can Google or go to Facebook group, the Texarcist Live, and just let me know that you want to be a member, and I'll let you in. And you can look at the pictures that I talked about, and see for yourself that it is not, it's crazy. It's crazy because it's so scary. But certainly check in and to both sites. I'd appreciate it. And if you would, those of you listening now and those of you listening to the replay, if you would go to YouTube and please follow my channel. I have right now about, I believe it's 260, maybe 270 followers. I need 1,000 before I can start doing live video, which is what I want to do. I want to do live video because I can show pictures, I can show charts, as well as many other things, and it's just a more personal, one-on-one type deal. So I would very much like that. Appreciate that if you would just go to YouTube, search for the Texarcist podcast. It'll come up, and just hit the follow button, follow me, and I would appreciate it because the live video will be so much better. But they changed the rule. Used to you could do live videos no problem, but then they changed it to, well, you can do them, but you have to have 1,000 followers, and kind of put an end to that. So anyway, I just want to say that I thank you for Matilda. Thank you, Tricia, for being here. And those of you that were listening live, thank you. God bless you all, and have a wonderful rest of your night and a wonderful day tomorrow. And I'll see you tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. Take care and God bless.